Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. I'm just trying to find my chat box. Where did it go? Oh, it goes over here. Oh, sorry, I've just scooted backwards. Welcome to the webinar today, guys. We're going to learn how to simplify and streamline our wellness practice with Joanna Sapir. I'm just going to stop this share and figure out what's going on with my presentation. There we go. As you join here, I can see people hopping in. Hello. Let us know, as usual, where in the world are you? We would love to learn where everybody is. I'm in Calgary, Alberta. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Sinead. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a yoga teacher here and also part of the Offering Tree team. So we're really excited to have you here today with Joanna Sapir, learning all about how to simplify and streamline. It's going to be a really good one. This is one that we hear a lot about in the Offering Tree community from our users, about how to make yourselves less busy and better serve the people that are in your community. So this is going to be a really good one. So yeah, tell us in the chat. We're going to come to it in a minute. Where are you? And what do you do in your business? We would love to learn. And also, what do you do in your business? And do you have a struggle in your business right now? We'd love to know that, because that's what we're going to work through today. As usual, we'll work through questions in the webinar, drop everything in the chat. We will come to a Q&A at the end as well. So let's keep it going in the chat and let us know what you need. And we're going to have some really great offers today. Joanna's got a link. I've got a link. If you're new to Offering Tree, you can get a discount. If you're new to Joanna, you can learn a lot more about the work that Joanna does. So before we get started, my last little bit here, elevator pitch, is who is Offering Tree? Well, we are all-in-one software for wellness practitioners right across the wellness sphere. So whether you're working with horses, or you're a massage therapist, a psychotherapist, a teacher, yoga, Pilates, movement, dance, anything, studios, we can support your needs. We can make your business run better. We are a website, we're a blog, it's a booking software. You can run your classes and schedule them, email marketing, everything right there. And if you ever want to know more about us, then let us know with an email, hello@offeringtree.com. And if you're here for the replay, you're going to see a link where you can ask your questions. You can always email us at hello@offeringtree.com for that. On the replay, we will, if you have to hop off early, we will be sending out the replay later today. So I'll hand over to Joanna here and just take a quick look at the chat and see where we are. So I'm going to stop my share, Joanna, and see where everyone is. Hi, Julie. Oh, yeah, Julie's new to Offering Tree. Sorry. Hi, Joanna. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm just super curious what everyone does. I see plenty of yoga and Tai Chi and aerial fitness, and I see some is one-on-one yoga and then some studios. I'd love to hear what else you all do.
That is cool. Hi, Karen in London. I love seeing where everyone is all over the world as well. Yoga, massage, esthetician, hypnotherapist. That's really interesting, Michelle. That's so cool. And yoga therapy. Hi, Nancy.
Great.
This is perfect. Okay, I'm going to turn off and kind of vanish here. I'll keep an eye on the chat. So let us know if you need anything there, guys.
Okay. All right, so I'll get going. Does that work, Sinead?
Yeah, looks great.
Okay. And I imagine some other folks will be popping on as we get going. So hi to all of you. It's great to be here. I'm excited to talk with you today. If you know nothing about who I am, my name is Joanna Sapir, and I am a business strategist for wellness practitioners. So I absolutely work with yoga therapists, yoga teachers, one-on-one studio owners. I also work with people who do other forms of movement and movement therapies, as well as things like acupuncture, even mental health therapy, and all sorts of different practitioners in the wellness space. And my special ability happens to be creating systems, easy to follow systems and processes for your business to help you generate consistent income, have long-term clients, and really create sustainable and profitable businesses. And a lot of that comes down to what we're talking about today, which is systematizing and streamlining your business. And that's exactly what I'm here to tell you about. Just a little bit about me. My physical sport is Olympic style weightlifting, and that's me. And I'm old now, so if I compete with the old folks. But originally I was a teacher. I was a high school history teacher for many years, and I taught teachers. And then I ended up opening a strength and conditioning gym because I was into this sport, and I almost opened that gym by accident. I really just wanted to see it in my community. I wanted to see this thing exist. And I had to learn boots on the ground how to run a business. And I, as I'll share later in this presentation today, hit burnout, which is like a real thing. And that's when I realized, oh, I really need to understand, how does a business run sustainably, profitably, and really give back to you just as much as you give to it. So I did that. I did sell my business. I built it to sell it, and I sold it in 2017 and moved 100% into what I do now, which is teaching wellness practitioners these systems and processes for your business. On the personal side, I'm the mom of these two redheads. I guess one of them's wearing a hat you can't see. I have two redheads. And I am born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I live on Southern Pomo and coastal Miwok land, which is just on the north edge of the bay at this point. All right, that's the personal stuff. I'm going to move fairly quickly to what we're talking about today, which is, if you're booked and busy. I assume that if you're here, you're booked and busy. I assume that there are plenty of booked and busy folks who will be watching on replay. Hello to you too. Those of you who are here live, it's great that you're able to make it live. And I want to say, any questions you have, throw them in the chat. And I would just kind of stick question, say question and put it in the chat, and know that I'm not actually looking at it, but I will come and look at it when there's question and answer period. So in the very least, there'll be a question and answer period at the very end. But I may be able to kind of stop and take some questions midway through, but go ahead and put them in the chat, and Sinead's going to be watching that as well. Okay. So I've been doing this work for many years now, 6-7 years full time, helping wellness practitioners. And what I've seen is that there are stages in your business. And so I call this the 4 stages. Let me just make sure that's black. And so I should also note, I'm going to be kind of writing a whole bunch of stuff on here. I'm going to be moving quickly. You very well may want to take notes. Again, just put your questions in the chat. All right. So the 4 stages that I see in wellness practices, the first one is where probably no one here is at, but I used to call it wobbly, but then everybody said, I'm in the wobbly stage, even when they weren't. So, because everybody feels like they're wobbly in business. So I changed it to calling it planning. The planning stage is like startup, when you're just beginning and you're going, you're getting certifications. Maybe you went to your yoga teacher certification. You're going, okay, I'm planning on having a business, and you're just sussing it all out. And it's, you're figuring out, what do I need to do to get this business off the ground? You don't have clients yet. So I'm just assuming that most of you, or all of you, are not in this stage, but you probably remember going through that stage. And really there is a pitfall here in that some people really get stuck there. And so I consider it, let's see, which one is it? This one. I consider it like the red zone. You don't want to get stuck there. So the planning stage is where people are like, okay, I need to get branding done for my business, and I need to get a beautiful website, and I need to, do all these things. And you can get stuck there without ever actually serving clients. You think you need all these things when really you can actually just start serving clients right away with very little in place. And that's one of the things you want to do right away. First thing is do whatever you can to get clients, whether that's reaching out to friends and family and people that already know you and telling them, hey, I'm doing this thing now. I can help you do XYZ. Do you want to check this out? You just do whatever you can to get clients instead of getting stuck in that planning stage. And so that's why I call this line, you kind of got to jump this line. It's like the fear line. And that's not very good writing, sorry, but the fear line, really folks do get stuck there. I'm going to guess that all of you have jumped the fear line and that you're in one of these higher stages. And so the next stage I call capable. And so I'm going to give this one, if we were thinking of red, yellow, green lights, Oops, that's not the right thing. Yellow. There we go. The capable stage is where you do have clients. You're finally serving some folks. You got scrappy and did whatever you could to, get some clients. And now you're like, okay, I'm working with people. I'm getting a chance to practice my trade, and I'm seeing what works with them, and I'm seeing what doesn't. You might have some really successful situations. You might be like really helping some people get results. And then you might have some clients who are like, kind of, it seems like a dud, like either they drop off, they don't seem very committed, you're not able to help them in the way you want to, you're still figuring things out. That's what I would say. You're serving clients, but you're figuring things out. You're also figuring things out, like, how does marketing work? How do I get new clients? How do I talk to prospective clients who reach out to me? You're figuring all that out. And you're just working it. You're working it, and there's maybe a bit of hustling in this stage. It may feel like that. You might feel really scrappy, and I actually think that's a good thing. I think that folks should be scrappy. What we're talking about today in terms of streamlining and automating some pieces of your business, that shouldn't actually happen until you've established what works and what doesn't in your business. You don't want to automate things, for example, until you know that they are validated, a process is validated. And you do that by being scrappy and figuring things out. So the capable stage is that stage where maybe you don't have enough clients. You may not be making enough money yet, but you're figuring things out. And so what happens usually is, let's see, let's go to that one. What happens usually is, you just kind of, there's no line to jump here. You just kind of keep doing more. You're figuring out what works, so you do more of that. You start filling up usually with clients because there's word of mouth. If you're good at what you do, people are sharing what you do. You start getting more leads, you start getting more clients, and you end up just somewhat organically, I should say, in the strong phase. And what's interesting about this strong phase is this is where most of us, we sort of imagine in, I keep forgetting which one is the highlighter here. Here we go. When we imagine starting our businesses, this is the place we imagine being. All right. Strong. And I like to say it looks strong from the outside. Who did I talk to yesterday? Yesterday, I was speaking to a practice owner. She happened to be a bodywork practice, and she had multiple practitioners in her practice. And she said to me, she said, well, on the outside, I look like a really successful business. And that is what this phase is like. It's everything you had been dreaming of, which usually is, I'm fully booked, and there's cash flow. There's money coming in, and I'm fully booked. And so we often have not dreamed beyond that. We've been working through these stages, right? We've been working from planning to showing ourselves that we're capable. And now here we are, fully booked. And what do we discover? We discover that, for example, fully booked means not enough time, too busy. I'll say this, too busy. Not enough time for all the things that we want to be doing or need to be doing. So what about back-end administration of your business? What about planning for 2024? What about going on vacation? What about, that special project that you had, either a personal project or even the project for the business that you had? There's just no time to do all of that. You're squeezing everything in, and you feel like just nothing is getting done that you're supposed to be doing. I would love to hear if that resonates with any of you, if that's where you're at, because we're going to be talking about it. Now, this presentation today is exactly for you if you're at that spot. And if you're not at that spot, kudos to you. And you may be, if you're down here and capable, you may end up here. And I am excited then to present to you the vision for what we really could have instead of this, which is let's see, I want to go thicker here. Is that going to help me go thicker? Is a truly resilient business. And so what do I mean by a resilient business? What I mean is a business that, let's see, we're going to make this dark green so we see that it's the best. What I mean by a resilient business is you have income predicted into the future for months to come. What I mean by a resilient business is you can step away for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and your business continues to run and can even grow in your absence. What I mean by a resilient business is you actually spend most of your time leading the business forward, envisioning where you want to take it, and actually making that happen rather than in the weeds, putting out fires, working with clients for all of your time. That's what we're talking about with the resilient business. And ultimately, a resilient business is one that is an asset. I don't know if any of you had thought about your exit plan for your business, but how are you going to exit it? If you're a solo practitioner, is it something that you could sell? If you have a practice, is it something that you could sell? Do you want to sell it? Do you want it to just close down when you're done? When you have a resilient business, you actually have choices there. So selling it is something I mentioned. I sold a business, and to sell a business, it has to be something that's an actual asset and runs on its own. It's not a job for somebody else to take over, right? It's an actual business that runs. So that's one option. There are other options, but what is your exit plan? Well, the more resilient your business is, the more choices you have there. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about today, is how to build a resilient business. I'm going to check the chat real quick just to see if there's anything I didn't mention. Oh, yes. Let me say, because somebody said jumping up and down on the fear line. Let me note that this is the other line. And I mean, sometimes I name this the good enough line, but it's like we could think about it as dreaming is like the better. There's good enough is down here. And, in this down here where it looks really good on the outside, but it doesn't feel so great on the inside when you're running it, that's, like I said, often just the most we've envisioned. So, and we think that that's what we want. We think that's good enough. And so the resilient, that line is kind of, I don't know, what would we call it? The dream line. Let's say that. And I just want to say, you can dream bigger. You actually can have something beyond what you're imagining right now. So I want to go into that. Let me just see what else. Just arriving there in my yoga. Yes, I feel this so much. Okay, so I don't see where folks are at. Okay, so the path to a resilient business. I'm going to go kind of 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to do some more drawing and we'll talk more deeply. All right, first thing for jumping that line, that good enough line, and really going to a resilient business is creating a new vision. So you had a vision for starting your business. You wanted to help people. You wanted to work with people, and it's happening. And here you are. So now you've got that. What's the new vision you have? Kind of your next level vision. And one way, if you are in the strong phase and I haven't even talked about burnout, but I mentioned that I had been through burnout. Burnout is a real thing. It usually shows up in the form of a health scare or a actual health crisis. It shows up in other ways. Other ways it shows up is you go on a vacation and you get sick on vacation, or you go on vacation and you absolutely dread coming back. You go into depression when you come back. These are all signs of burnout, and burnout meaning your business is just not providing you enough nourishment. Like it's all taking from you and not giving back. And so it is perfectly okay in creating a new vision for your business to first start by identifying, what do you not want anymore? You're absolutely okay to do that whatever stage of business you're at, whatever's going on with your business. It's fine if you look at it now and start with a place of what's going on in my life and in my business that I don't like and I don't want to have. I think that can be really helpful for some people. And then, of course, so what do you want now? The hard part about this is you may not realize what's possible. And I hope that today you'll end this webinar with some inspiration and some ideas for what actually is possible. So what do you not want anymore? What do you want now? What is a new vision you have for how you want your business to be? And maybe you don't have a really clear vision yet, but just even starting with those two questions. What do I not want? I don't want to be working 40-hour work weeks anymore. I don't want to be struggling through doing my books, right? I don't want to do my books anymore, period. I don't want to have this employee, whatever. You can start there. What do I want now? I would like more free time. Whatever comes out is fine. And then the reason I put this in bigger letters and in green is just, I want to note that what got you here, if we're talking about like our stages here, what got you from capable to strong is not what's going to get you from strong to resilient. And that's really, really important to note. More of what you have been doing is not going to get you a resilient business. In fact, from strong to resilient, you really are going to need to change things up. Okay, so more of what you are doing to get to a strong business is exactly what's going to lead to burnout, which is why we need to really re-envision how this all works. All right, so create a new vision. Second thing is to define your boundaries. And this can be in your personal life, in your business life, etc. And it's a really, really key piece to I would say manifesting, actualizing your new vision. So for example, you don't want to be working so much. You don't want to be doing this kind of work anymore. That's up to you then to define those boundaries. And then we actually have to draw the boundaries and create them and put them in place. So questions for you: what are you willing to do? And what are you not willing to do anymore? And so you could think about this as conditions for your success. So say that part of your new vision was something financial. And let's say if you're a, yoga studio owner and you would like to have consistent $30,000 months, let's say, for that. What are you willing to do for that? And what are you not willing to do for that? What are the conditions? That's a marker of success or a marker of the vision you have. What are you not willing to do? You get to say that, especially at this point. If you're at the strong phase, you get to now say, what am I not willing to do? And it might be not willing to do anymore. And then what am I willing to do? And then some really specific stuff around drawing your boundaries. We might have time to talk about this later, but this is where offering tree can really, really help. I talk about aligning your calendar with your values. I have a whole workshop on that, but that's essentially going, what do I want in my life and what do I not want in my life? What's important to me and what's less important, and actually using your calendar to enforce that. So I call that a values aligned scheduling system. And so that's something that's a whole process to go through. But here are some really more actionable items. One is to note that if you are in the strong phase of business and you are still doing a tremendous amount of client work, it's time to start doing less client work and more business leadership. That is one of the defining characteristics of the difference between a strong business and a resilient business, is that I'll give you some actual numbers. If you are a solo practitioner and you're busy in your business, busy and booked, we want to see you move to 50% of your business hours. And let me just note, if you don't have defined business hours, that's exactly what I'm talking about here with defining your boundaries. What are your actual business hours where your business is open? And if you're solo in that business, we want to see maximum 50% of your business hours for client-facing time for you. That's if you're solo. And a lot of people are like, what? Because if you're, a yoga therapist working one-on-one with people, let me just say that as a solo practitioner, you got into business and the whole thing was to help clients, right? So if only half of your business hours are seeing clients, what are you doing with the other half? Well, you're leading your business forward. You're doing marketing, you're doing sales, you're doing financial projections, and you're doing the big picture vision and strategic planning to get your business to be exactly what you want it to be. You have to have time set aside for that. So I'm not just talking about you set aside a day every quarter. I'm talking about 50% of your working hours are leading your business. All right. So that's a really clear marker that I want everybody here to hear. Now, if you're a studio owner or you own a practice, your client-facing hours should be less and less and less and less. If you, first of all, I want to give you permission that you don't have to have any client-facing hours. But if you like to keep your foot in the door that way and want to keep your, self, for me, it was on the gym floor, on the studio floor. For some, really choose that very, very carefully. Who do you love to work with? What is the setting where you feel completely lit up and nourished in your teaching of clients? And keep it there. But we're talking about 30%, 20%, 10% of your business work time, if you're a studio owner, being with client-facing time. And all of the rest of it is leading your business. And you have, staff management and staff training to add into all your administrative stuff. Okay. So I think this is a really, really important point. Just want to pause, let that sink in. The more advanced your business is, the less client-facing time you should have as the owner. All right. And if you're a solo practitioner, we're looking at 50% of your business time is seeing clients, and the other 50% is leading your business. I just want to see if there's no questions there. Okay, so I'm going to move on. The third piece, and this is what I'm going to spend the rest of the webinar teaching on, is to streamline and systematize everything that you can to make things run more smoothly and to save you time, right? And as I said earlier, you streamline and systematize the processes that you know work. So those processes have been validated, and now you systematize and streamline them. So I'm going to talk about doing that. I'm going to talk about my, I call it the client champion formula that I start all practitioners with. So I'm going to teach that to you today. And then I also want to mention that I have a free masterclass to offer you that goes deeper on the whole client champion formula. And so Sinead has the link to that and can drop that. So I'm just putting it now in the case that you have to leave early or anything, but I go deeper into this. But why don't we get into this? So first, I just want to note, when we're talking about the parts of your business, I think of your business in terms of having 5 departments. If you've never, other business strategists could have their own frameworks for this, but fulfillment is the actual client services. So that's what we call that. All right. So that's just one department, right? Marketing is another. Probably all of you think like, I need more marketing. I want to note that marketing and sales are 2 different departments. I'll be talking about that today. Financial management, and then administration and operations. And so a lot falls into there, including HR if you're a studio owner. All right. So the client champion formula, this is the beginnings of kind of streamlining your business. And this touches on all 5 departments. All right. So there's 3 main pillars to the client champion formula. And if you are taking notes and drawing along with me, I just want to note, it does not have to be neat. You'll see how messy I am. There's 3 circles. So the first pillar in this is actually knowing who the right people are for your business. And what do I mean by the right people? Well, if you've done any kind of business training, you've probably heard something about your ideal clients, ideal client avatar, your niche, blah, 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 blah. I call it the right people. And what do we mean by the right people? Well, when you were capable in the capable phase and then in the strong phase, you very likely were in the capable phase and the planning phase. You should be just trying to work with whoever you can, because you're trying to find out, who do I work best with? Who do I like working with? I just need clients. That's where you're at then. And then when you keep doing more of that, you're still wide open. Well, to move from a strong to a resilient business, you actually need to start honing in on who are the people that I love working with and that get the best results from my services. That's who we mean by the right people. Who do I love working with and get the best results from my services? And this can be as simple as looking at, in your past, however long you've been working, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, 20 years, who have been my favorite clients. and why were they my favorite clients? And actually start to note that to yourself, like list it. This person was a favorite client. Usually when I ask people this, it's somebody who still works with you and has been working with you for years. What makes them such a great client? Make a list. What are all the qualities? What are their behaviors? And then you might even list something about their demographics. And you're looking for patterns. If you were to just list your 3 to 5 favorite clients and list all the reasons why and some information about them, you probably will see some patterns. And that's how we hone in on who the right people are for your business. And once you understand who the right people are, we want to call them in specifically. And so I call this aim for the bullseye. And so to me, the right people, I call them the bullseye of your target market. So you may have we probably know that term, target market. The bullseye is who's right in the center. When I'm like throwing a dart or aiming an arrow, I'm aiming for the bullseye. So we want your business, your practice to be focused on these specific people that you love working with and see the best results from your services. And we want all of your messaging to speak to them. And so a lot of folks kind of get tripped up on like, how do I get those people? Well, I believe it's as simple as speaking their language. And what I mean by that is if you record the language, the words that your ideal, the right people use when they initially come to you. So we're talking about how they describe their goals and their desires and their pains and their problems. Pains, problems, goals, desires. I'll probably say that a bunch in the next few minutes. If you pull the words that they use, though that's their language, and all you have to do is put their words right back out on your website, if you're doing social media stuff, wherever you have visibility. Your website, it could be the window of your studio if you're in person. Any networking events, you would speak it. Okay, speaking their language is just repeating back what the right people are telling you about their pains, problems, goals, and desires, and you will attract more of them. Okay, so we're focusing the business on the right people, and you'll see the rest of the parts are creating systems. This is beginning to have a system where you are calling in those people and you are repelling the others. We're not going to have time to get really in depth on this. This isn't all about, niching, but it's pretty key. And so when you call those folks in, what you want to do is be offering them invitations. So what I mean by that is inviting the right people to take a next step with you. Okay. That doesn't mean, hey, buy my stuff, or hey, we're so great, come buy our stuff. An invitation is something like, would you like to schedule a free consultation to learn about how you can get rid of those pains and problems and reach those goals and desires? Or would you like, or I invite you to this free workshop where you can learn how to get rid of those pains and problems and reach those goals and desires. Okay, I have some invitations today. One of them was to my masterclass, right? That's an invitation to get the masterclass. So offer invitations. It means we're not selling when we're calling out to folks. We're not hawking our wares and saying, hey, here we are, come buy this stuff. We're saying, hey, I see you. I understand your pains, problems, goals, and desires because I'm speaking your language. Here's a step. Would you like to take a first step? And that's what the invitations are. So let's see how this pans out with the rest of it. So first piece, this first pillar is about knowing who your bullseye clients are. Who are the right people for your business? Next, we want the right program in place. And I'm so used to talking about this that I forget that you all don't know me, but so let me say, this is a hallmark of the systems and processes I teach is in programmatizing your services rather than selling sessions. So let's talk about what I mean by that. I believe that when your business is focused on the right people for you, that the way you can serve them most deeply, most powerfully, the way you can truly help them address their pains and problems and get to the root cause. So you're eliminating the root cause of their pains and problems so that they can reach their goals and desires, is by creating a program for them. You might think of it, if you're I saw there was a yoga therapist here. If you're a yoga therapist, you could think of it as a treatment plan. If you're a studio owner, you could think of it as, what's the container or the journey that your ideal people, that your bullseye clients would ideally take in order to reach their goals? What's that journey? What's that container? And that's what I'm talking about by a program. So you could think of it as journey. You could think of it as container. And so what does that look like? So just to kind of give you a key, a little kind of heads up. I talked about the right people, right? And so you know who they are. Think about one of those favorite clients of yours. They've probably been working with you long-term. That's usually who makes a favorites list. So great, they've already been working with you long-term. If you were to go back in time to the first contact they made with you, maybe they were a referral or a phone call or contacted you through your website. And if you were to meet them again and knew that they were going to be such a great client, what is the journey that you would design for them from day one? What would it look like? It could look so many different ways. All of you would come up with different answers, but it wouldn't be a session. And it wouldn't be a session or a class. And it wouldn't be an arbitrary session, like a number of sessions or number of classes. It wouldn't be like, well, 10 classes or 20 classes, like just made up. It would be something like, well, for the first 3 months, I would be teaching them the foundational movements and breathing patterns or something. I'm just making this up, right? And then in the next, like, there'd be some milestones I would, kind of want them to hit. And then in the next phase, it would be really learning to XYZ. That's what I mean by a journey or container. And I want to tell you, because I said this whole thing was, to get to a resilient business is creating a new vision. I would like to encourage you to create a new vision. And that vision would be one in which you're working always exclusively with the right people, with your ideal clients, and that all of them enroll in a program or container with you. So they're not signing up for a session. They're not signing up for a class. They're not signing up for a pack of sessions or a pack of classes. They are stepping forward into a container that you have carefully designed to help them get the best results possible or experience the journey that they are meant to experience. Okay. So what do we do to make that happen? The first thing is that, I have this on, you map that journey. That's your program design. So that's something you get to think about. Now, I hope you see also that when you know who your people are, that's how you design the journeys. It's not arbitrary. You're not designing a journey based on what you think people out there in the world will buy. No, you're basing it on who your ideal clients, what they actually need. All right. I can show you how to market and sell your programs, but you don't design them based on what you think is going to sell. You design them based on what your clients truly need. So we map the journey, but we look at what that looks like. One of the next pieces, let's see, this is where my writing gets. I hope you all can read my writing. We calculate profitable pricing. And again, I go much more in depth on this in the masterclass that you can get. I'm not going to have time today to go super deep in that. But profitable pricing, I want to say, is not made up. Like, your pricing is not a made up thing. It's not something you just figure out by looking at what other people are charging or thinking about what people will pay. Your pricing needs to be calculated by the numbers. It's what are your business expenses? And that includes your salary and the salaries of anyone you pay. And I'm talking about putting your salary in there. Like, I get really bummed when I hear about folks who are running their businesses and like their pay is just what's left at the end of the month. Like, we don't want a business like that. We want to pay a business that pays you a salary consistently always, and anybody working for you, and even has extra left over, which that's the profit. Okay. So your pricing has to take into account those factors. And then the third thing is that we collect client success stories, which, you know, I could say is testimonials, but I think it's a little bit different. But when you collect client success stories and use those in your visibility plans and in your marketing plans, that you just get this constant loop of new people coming because you're showing the client success stories. Let me just note, a good client success story does not praise you as the practitioner or the studio. We don't want so that's why I call it client stories. We don't want like, oh, Joanna is so great and she's just so nice and she's so smart and anybody should work with her. That doesn't compel prospective clients to actually see themselves in there. That's just a praise. I call it the praise the practitioner testimonial. What we want is personal stories. So if you go to my website, which you can do, there's an invitation. You can go to my website. There's a client stories page. Those client stories are all the stories of the practitioners themselves. They're not stories praising me. It's about them. Here's what I had a yoga studio and this is what was going on with it. And I was struggling in these ways and I really wanted to do this. And here's what I did with Joanna. We did this and this and this, and here's where I'm at now. If you go to that client stories page, you're going to see that story and you can see yourself in there. That's what you want to be doing with your client stories. Okay. So the right people, you design the right programs for them. And the third pillar here is that you need I call it the predictable sales system. You need a predictable sales system. It's like a predictable, repeatable process to convert your leads into clients. So it's like how people actually sign up with you. And so if currently your services are offered, people buy from you on your website, and they're buying sessions or buying a pack of sessions, this is a bit different than that. So I just want to note that digital conversion, if you're sending people to book a session or book a class on your website, digital conversion tends to get a much lower conversion rate. So it can be as low as 2%. I mean, and what we see is like high converting sales pages are something like 10%. That's like high converting. It means you need a lot of traffic to get there to sell. Whereas what I teach is a consultative sales process, which means that you are offering a actual conversation and consultation with somebody, and you're building a relationship with them. And there, especially if you're an in-person business, but even for online businesses, if you're an in-person business, we see conversion at 80 to 100%. That's just profoundly higher than booking on a page. And so what do we do? So some people say, what? You have a consultation? You have a free consultation with every single person? Like, I'd be so busy with those things. Well, first of all, just remember that sales is its own department. And as a business owner, you should have a number of hours set aside each week for sales, which means doing consultations. Just want to note that. And the second thing is that you want to put what I call, it's a borrowed term from Michael Port, if you know who that is, a red velvet rope policy. Okay. So we actually put filters in place so that people are coming for a free consultation, but they're going through some kind of application or pre-qualification process so that you're not having consultations with people who are completely not the right people. That's as simple as it goes. Okay. I'm going to start moving a bit more quickly here. I'm looking at the time. Sinead, I told you I tend to go long, but I see the clock. I see the clock. So the second thing here is that we prime and prep your prospects, which, this is where I get to talk about what the automations that Offering Tree is doing. So I teach my clients how to automate a large portion of this. And Offering Tree is actually building these kind of automations. So I think Eddie's going to come on before this ends and share a little bit about that. I think it's kind of in the works and it's exciting. So we prime and prep our prospects, and then looks like there's an extra line there. And then we connect and convert in the consultation. Connect and convert in the consultation. All right. So that's the sales system. So these three things all work together, right? You have the right people, you design the right programs for them, and you enroll them with your predictable sales system. And what happens when you do this? You get more cash. You make more connection with your clients. And this is really how you get, long-term committed clients and create steady, predictable income. And when you automate and systematize all this, your whole business is built off it. And so I'm about to go to questions, but let me just add a little bit more here and say, this is the core. This is like the heart of the Client Champion formula. But where does other stuff fit in? Look at, I'm out of room. There's a big triangle. Let me see if I can do this. I'm stressed on time, but I could like shrink this thing, and I'm not going to. I'm going to make this really confusing and just say that on the outside of this goes marketing. And here we have financial management. And then we have your core ideology, which is really like your philosophy and your mission in the business. So this, as messy as it looks, is actually a whole system for streamlining and systematizing your business. So it's question time. Let me very quickly give you some invitations and model for you what I mean by invitations. One, I think Sinead already put the link in there. You can sign up for the free Client Champion Formula Masterclass. That's where I go deeper on all these pieces. A second one is that I have a podcast. It's called The Business Revolution for Practitioners. It's great. I go in depth on all this stuff and more. So you can find that in any podcast player of your choice. And then if you are interested in working with me, particularly if you're at that strong phase, I just want to note that's who I work with, is people at that strong phase wanting to move to a more resilient business. You can apply for a free Simplify and Streamline strategy session with me. And there's the link. You can find that at my website. I'm not going to put the link in the chat, but you can find that at my website. There's, it's the main call to action on my website. Okay. All right. Questions?
So Joanna, we had one, Karen posted this just as we started the section about the systematizing. So it's kind of about the last section. As a solopreneur, can 50% not client time be used to create courses as well as marketing planning / content creation?
Used to create courses. I suppose it depends on what you mean by create. What do you mean by create courses? Because creating, so I think you asked that question before I went into the Client Champion formula, where I talked about programs. So program design, yes, I would call that part of your envisioning and part of your leading your business. So absolutely, that would go into designing your programs, would go into the 50% that's not client facing, 100% for sure. And then as you design, let's say your first program, and you start enrolling people in it, you're always going to want to take time to be reiterating that and make it better and better over time based on how clients are responding in that, for sure. Oh yeah, there's the podcast. Yes, The Business Revolution for Practitioners is the name of the podcast. Karen, did that answer your question? I mean, I asked you a question back. Oh yes, it did. Okay.
And then Charlotte saying, I'm interested in signing with Offering Tree, but I have a few questions to ask first. Is there anyone that can help? Yes, Charlotte, you can email us at hello@offeringtree.com, and you can ask all your questions there. And I'll share a link in the replay notes to set up a call with Christine as well on our sales team, who will do that quick consultation with absolutely no pressure to move ahead, just to see if it's the right system for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so Offering Tree is a tool that absolutely helps you do this kind of streamlining that I'm talking about. And many of those details that I was mentioning, like Offering Tree can help you do that, whether it's your calendar and scheduling pieces or that sales process in the sales system.
And here's Eddie. Hi, Eddie. Excuse me, everyone. We have a question here. When you spoke of calculating profitable pricing, can you advise, can you advise on how to do this while trying to somewhat stay in line with the industry standard? Or should you really individualize this to your own biz and not compare to others?
Yeah, it's a good question and really deep. And so first thing I'll say is that so any of you who are like opting in for my masterclass, you're going to end up on my email list. That's how it works. And you will be offered there when you're on the list some other resources. And I actually have a free tool to help you with your pricing. Where I do some education around that. So just want to mention that, like, get on my list. And this is something that you can learn from me and I can talk about. Now, to answer as much as I can here, I believe that you should absolutely individualize this and look at your pricing needs to make your business profitable and sustainable, period. And so if you do the activity that I suggest for doing this, or calculate profitable pricing, and you find that it's way outside of the industry standard, that means some other things need to change, including the strength of your marketing and your sales process. You absolutely, I have many clients who are way above the industry standard, not because they're trying to be high end, but because that's legitimately what their business has to make for them to have a profitable business. And so you just kind of see the reality. That's not to say that everybody could do it. You might see what your pricing would need to be for you to have a profitable business. And you might go, I'm totally unwilling to do that. And it might be the sign to you that you don't have a viable business. I mean, that could be the reality as well. But there is no point, I would say, in getting into business and doing business at pricing that is only going to leave you always struggling and in burnout. It's kind of, you do want a reality check, because people do that. And that's where they truly get so booked and busy, because they're just trying to book more sessions in order to make the living they want to make. And you don't have all the time. You can't just keep booking more sessions. It just is taking over your life. Like, if, again, you'll run into health problems and so on. So your pricing is a really key lever there. Hi, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie.
Hi,
Jesse.
Joanna. Hi, Sinead.
Hi. Jesse had a question, and we'll come back to it because it ties in with what Eddie's going to say. But Doug just says, I like what you say. Say I want to hire someone to do some of what you do. What do I look for when hiring someone with this level of understanding you present in hiring sites like Upwork? In other words, what would the job description be?
To do what I do? Oh, to do what I'm teaching? I actually think, sorry, the stuff that I've taught today, I believe you have to do. I think you'll be making a mistake. This is strategic, what I'm talking about. There are some details, but here's the thing is like, so, and Eddie can really speak to this, like with Offering Tree, like here's Offering Tree is this great tool, but the tool doesn't do it for you. You have to set up the tool to do it for you. And to set up the tool to do it for you, you need to know what you want. That's why I had those first stages of what's the vision? What are you not willing to do? What are you willing to do? And to try and outsource that kind of stuff to somebody else, you're just going to end up with a system that is not actually yours. So I believe this is something that you as the business owner have to take the time to, and absolutely you hire a consultant that's somebody like me. That's what I'll say, rather than the implementer. Once you know what needs to be implemented, if there's technology that needs to be built, that's a whole different thing. But you actually have to, if that's what you're asking, maybe Doug, if you're just asking about the technology side, and I actually think Eddie probably will share, because Offering Tree is the tool that I think is probably totally, or I know is user-friendly enough for you to do it yourself. But to know what you're designing needs to come from you. You don't need to know the nuts and bolts of how the technology works, but to know what you want to happen, what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, right? So that starts with you. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, Joanna, thank you. This is such an important topic, and I love your framework of the planning, capable, strong, and resilient. And really, it's just so applicable to any business, actually, not just in the fitness wellness sector. And to Doug's point or question, I do think that when you were saying that when you're in that capable phase and you're in that hustle phase, you're kind of trying a bunch of things, doing things that aren't like scalable, and they maybe there's no process yet around it, and you're in that phase where you're figuring out what's the winning strategy, what's the winning process, and
Right.
then you're to a point where you can start to put some systems and processes in place to like, because you're scrambling, you're sending emails yourself, there's no automation software, but you're figuring out what's working, and you're spending all this time, and now you're really probably loaded on that 50% or more, but now you can sort of think about, how can I offload some of
Exactly.
my time, right? And how can
Exactly.
I do it in an efficient way? And I think, Doug, maybe like, if you're looking to take some time off your hands, you can look at either like software that can do it for you, or if you really like, hey, I know how to do this stuff really well, but it takes a person, maybe looking, like you mentioned Upwork, maybe you could get like a VA or something to take stuff that how to do, and then you can teach someone really easily. Maybe that's I would say that's a low hanging fruit that you can maybe hire someone to help you with. And then as far as the higher level stuff, I think finding someone like Joanna, yeah, like she already mentioned, I think that's the way. But yeah, I'd love to share a few updates on Offering Tree that kind of ties into this, if that'd be okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, perfectly. Yeah, so we are launching automations. So I don't know, if you're familiar with automations, different softwares have them, like, ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit. I think Mailchimp has some automations as well. So automations are things they're like processes and software that get kicked off when something happens. And you can, for instance, like send a sequence of emails to someone who purchases your consultation call. If you want to sort of upsell them to your perfect process for how your customer journey, you can do like if you have a first time visitor, basically if something happens, and then when you're noticing that something happens, and then you're manually emailing people or doing something in a very manual process, these automations are a way to like automate that, take that off your hands, give you some time back in your business to spend more time with your clients, lower that 50%. Maybe that goes down to 40%, and now you have 10% more time to be with your clients, or more time to be on your business. Maybe more realistically, you're already at like 75% client time. Maybe this brings it down a little bit for you. So yeah, that's the big update. We're rolling this out right now. If you are an Offering Tree customer and you're interested, we do have a beta program where you can start playing around with these automations right now. But we're going to be releasing them to everybody later this month. So just wanted to chime in and say that. We also have a bunch of other updates that we're launching this month. So be sure to check your email for those. We'll be sending those out to everybody on our list, whether you're a customer or not. So be on the lookout for those. But yeah, Joanna, I really loved the presentation. I love the frameworks, and we are going to be recording this and sending out a replay. So I know I might go back and watch some of it. Really helpful information. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
Since I have to
know.
say, I'm super proud of myself. Can I just say, for like actually ending on time? I went really, really fast and didn't go in depth. But I would love, since there are 3 minutes left before the top of the hour, if any of you have a takeaway, I would love to hear it. And how cool for those of you who are here who already have Offering Tree that this beta stuff is going on. I've been talking to Eddie behind the scenes about the automations that I teach my clients, and that's like he's building that in Offering Tree, which is super cool. But I would love to hear like what was one thing that stood out that is landing with you. What's like one nugget, one takeaway that you had from this? I'd love to hear what landed.
I know, going back to something that Julie said earlier, right at the beginning, I feel like I'm jumping up and down at the fear line. The fear line really stood out to me. I was like, oh, I remember being there. I was there for quite a while, and I didn't even tell my own family and friends what I was doing. So it was like stepping into that, owning the space that you're in, and knowing that you can be confident in your business was a big part for me. So I don't know if that resonates with you, Julie. Laurie's saying, really like the idea of the journey we can create for our future clients. That was really cool. Appreciate the model and helps to organize my thoughts. I love the drawing. I did love the model that you drew out there, Joanna.
As messy as it was, yeah. Okay, a lot about programs. I love that. I think it's one of the most like revolutionary things you can do in your business because it serves your clients so much more powerfully. It actually can just transform your business dramatically because it's so much, it's just really, really powerful. I will say like the level of fulfillment you feel as a practitioner when you're working with people in these kind of containers is just unparalleled. If you imagine the best client relationship you have right now, your whole business is like that. It's just, it's like, that's why we do the work that we do, right?
Yeah.
4 stages. Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, I
cool.
love the 4 stages of the business and the lines too, the fear line and then the good enough line, because I do feel like that is for sure another sort of fence that you need to jump over. You know, there are these like fences along the different phases of your business, and you're like, is this good enough? Or it's good enough. You're so stressed, you're so like booked and busy that you just can't imagine doing any extra work to even get to the place where you want to be. So being able to say, okay, look, I've had enough. I'm ready to put in that level of effort to get to that resilient phase. I thought that was, you captured that very eloquently.
Oh, good. And I'll just note, Ryan, it says you're between the capable and strong. What a great time to be hearing this then, because then, you know, like that's not the end. That strong level isn't the end. Like there's more after that. So good timing. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. No, this was fantastic. Thank you so much, Joanna. That's so much info for us all to learn from. And yes, we hope to have Joanna back with a webinar soon. I know we're talking about that in the background. And stay tuned for our update on automations. Thank you, everyone, for being here for the live and for the replay. Thank you so much, Joanna. And thank you, Eddie, for popping in as well. And we'll see you all on the next webinar. We've got one coming up on Halloween, and we might have a surprise one in between that. We'll let you know. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.